I never meant for any of this to happen. At least, that's what I tell myself as I scroll through my Instagram feed, past the perfectly curated photos of my seemingly perfect life. The truth is messy, uglier, and far more complicated. Jack thinks he married a social butterfly, an influencer who lights up every room she enters. He has no idea he married a woman who's been slowly suffocating in the suburbs of Chicago. The rooftop party is where everything started to unravel. Or maybe that's just where I stopped pretending. I'm standing at the edge of the crowd, champagne glass in hand, watching my husband do what he always does at these events. Fade into the background. He's leaning against the railing, nursing his whiskey, wearing that same navy blazer he's had since our wedding 3 years ago. Reliable Jack. Predictable Jack. The human equivalent of a security blanket. The party is at The View, Chicago's newest rooftop bar, where the city's skyline stretches out like a glittering promise of something more. Something exciting. Something I'm not getting at home. Your husband's doing his wallflower act again, Rachel whispers in my ear, her voice tinged with that particular mix of pity and judgment she's perfected over the years. I take another sip of champagne, letting the bubbles burn away my guilt. He's just tired from work, I say, the same excuse I've been making for months. Rachel raises a perfectly groomed eyebrow. Honey, we're all tired from work. That's why God invented cocaine and coffee. I laugh, but it feels hollow. That's when I see him. Chris Parker walks into the party like he owns it, all 6 feet of him wrapped in a tailored suit that probably costs more than Jack's monthly salary. He's new to our circle, a real estate agent who specializes in luxury properties. The kind of man who makes promises with his eyes and keeps them with his wallet. Now that, Rachel says, following my gaze, is what I call an upgrade. I should defend Jack. I should walk away. I should do a lot of things. Instead, I watch as Chris works the room, his confidence radiating like heat. When his eyes meet mine, something electric passes between us. A recognition. A possibility. A danger. I drain my champagne glass and grab another from a passing waiter. The night air is thick with possibility, and I'm already drunk on it. Chris makes his way over, smooth as silk. Ashley Thompson, he says, like my name is a secret he's been keeping. I've heard so much about you. All good things, I hope. The words come out flirtier than I intended. Or exactly as intended. I'm not sure anymore. Your Instagram is legendary, he says, leaning in closer than necessary. But the photos don't do you justice. From across the room, I can feel Jack watching us. I should care more about that. Flattery will get you everywhere, I say, and Rachel giggles beside me. That's what I'm counting on. His smile is dangerous. And I want to drown in it. The night unfolds like a dream after that. More champagne. More laughter. More Chris. Jack stays in his corner, watching but never intervening. Always the passive observer in his own life. In our life. When Chris asks for my number, I give it without hesitation. For business purposes, he says with a wink that suggests anything but. The first text comes the next morning. Last night was interesting. Coffee? I stare at my phone, wedding ring catching the morning light. Jack is already at work, probably buried in code, being the reliable provider he's always been. I type back, can't. Busy with work. Chris, shame. Your Instagram shows you at the Bean Cafe every Thursday morning. He's done his research. I should be creeped out. Instead, I'm intrigued. 11 a.m., I reply. And just like that, the game begins. Coffee turns into lunch. Lunch turns into drinks. Drinks turn into stolen kisses in his Tesla, parked in dark corners of underground garages. Each step feels inevitable, like falling downstairs in slow motion. You know you should stop, but gravity has other plans. Jack suspects nothing, or maybe he just doesn't want to see. He's too busy being dependable, predictable, safe. Everything Chris isn't. The lies come easily at first. Working late. Meeting with sponsors. Content creation workshop. Jack nods, never questioning, never pushing. His trust is like a knife in my gut. But not sharp enough to stop me. Chris takes me to places Jack would never think to go. Exclusive restaurants where the menu has no prices. Hidden jazz clubs where the music feels like sin. Hotel bars where nobody knows our names. Or pretends not to. The first time we sleep together, it's in a suite at the Peninsula. Chris spares no expense. Egyptian cotton sheets. Dom Perignon on ice. A view of the city that makes me feel like I'm floating above my old life. You deserve this, he whispers against my skin. And I believe him. Because it's easier than facing the truth. The truth that I'm destroying something pure for something shiny. Trading substance for style. Love for excitement. But in those moments, wrapped in luxury and lies, I don't care. Rachel becomes my confidant, my alibi, my enabler. You're glowing, she says over brunch. Affairs agree with you. I should be offended by her casualness. Instead, I order another mimosa and tell her about Chris's latest gifts. The Cartier bracelet. The Louboutins. The promises of more. My Instagram followers eat it up. They don't know the designer clothes are bought with guilt money. They don't see the cracks in my smile. They double tap and comment, #goals, #blessed, #living my best life. The irony would be funny if it wasn't so sad. Jack starts working later hours. Or maybe I just notice it more now that I have somewhere else to be. Someone else to be with. The distance between us grows, measured in unspoken words and cold sheets. Then comes the party where everything changes. Another rooftop. Another crowd. But this time I'm drunk on more than champagne. Drunk on power. On attention. On Chris's hands finding mine when nobody's looking. Someone suggests toasts. Rachel hands me a microphone. And something ugly inside me takes over. To my husband, Jack, I say, watching him shrink under the spotlight. The Toyota Camry of husbands. The crowd laughs. Reliable. Dependable. Not exciting, but gets you where you need to go. More laughter. Chris smirks from across the room. Jack just stands there, taking it. Like he takes everything. And for the first time, I see him clearly. Not as the boring husband I've convinced myself he is. But as a good man being humiliated by a bad woman. The realization should stop me. Should make me reconsider everything. Instead, it pushes me further into Chris's arms. Because facing what I've become is harder than continuing the lie. The affair intensifies after that night. More risks. More lies. More expensive gifts that I hide in the back of my closet. Chris starts talking about the future. About leaving Jack. About a life filled with excitement and luxury. You're wasted on him, he says one night, as we lay in another hotel bed. He doesn't understand what he has. I nod, but something feels off. Like I'm reading from a script I didn't write. Playing a part in someone else's story. But I've come too far to turn back now. Haven't I? The texts become constant. The lies more elaborate. The guilt heavier. But like any addict, I chase the high. The thrill of secrecy. The rush of betrayal. The expensive dinners and designer shoes that make me feel like someone else. Someone better. Someone worse. Jack's silence becomes deafening. His acceptance maddening. I almost wish he would fight. Scream. Demand answers. Instead, he retreats further into his world of coding and quiet dignity. Making it easier to justify what I'm doing. Making it harder to look in the mirror. Rachel tells me I'm living the dream. 2 men. Double the attention. Double the gifts. Double the lies. But lately, the dream feels more like a nightmare I can't wake up from. And somewhere, in the quiet moments between the chaos, I hear a voice. My voice. Asking what I've become. But I silence it with another glass of champagne. Another designer bag. Another night in Chris's arms. Because the truth is too heavy to carry. And the lie is too beautiful to break. At least, that's what I tell myself. As I post another perfect picture. As I kiss Jack goodbye in the morning. As I meet Chris in secret. As I slowly, deliberately, destroy everything real in pursuit of something that feels like freedom. But chains are still chains, even when they're made of gold. And I'm starting to feel the weight of every link. Every lie. Every betrayal. Every perfectly filtered photo that hides the ugly truth beneath. But I can't stop. Won't stop. Because the alternative is facing what I've done. Who I've become. And that's a reality I'm not ready to face. Not yet. Maybe not ever. So I keep dancing on the edge of disaster. Keep posting the perfect pictures. Keep living the perfect lie. While somewhere, in a quiet corner of my heart, the truth whispers. And waits. The whispers become screams the day Jack finally breaks his silence. I'm sitting at our kitchen island, scrolling through Instagram, when he places my phone in front of me. My phone. The one I thought I'd locked. The one full of messages from Chris. My heart stops. Care to explain? Jack's voice is quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that comes before an earthquake. I stare at the screen, at the evidence of my betrayal laid bare. Messages. Photos. Every lie exposed in high definition. It's not what you think, I say automatically. But it is. It's exactly what he thinks. And we both know it. Really? Jack's laugh is hollow. Empty. Like our marriage. Because I think my wife has been sleeping with Chris Parker for months. The truth hangs between us like a guillotine. I can explain, I say, but the words taste like ash. Please do, he says, sitting down across from me. Explain how work meetings turned into hotel rooms. Explain how content creation workshops became weekend getaways. Explain how my wife became a stranger. His calmness is worse than anger. His dignity more cutting than rage. I wasn't happy, I whisper. It sounds pathetic even to my ears. And this made you happy? He asks, scrolling through the messages. Lying? Cheating? Humiliating me in front of our friends? Each question is a bullet. Each word a wound. You were never there, I try to deflect. Always working. Always reliable. Always. Boring, he finishes for me. Is that what you tell Chris? That your husband is too boring? The truth in his words stings more than any accusation. Jack, Save it, he cuts me off. I've read enough of your explanations in these texts. He stands up, and for the first time, I see something break in his eyes. You know what's funny, he says, but there's no humor in his voice. I actually thought we were happy. Stupid, reliable Jack. Too boring to see his wife slipping away. Too trusting to check her phone sooner. Each word is a mirror, showing me what I've become. What I've done to us. What are you going to do? I ask, fear finally creeping in. Do, he laughs again, that empty sound that hurts my ears. I'm going to call a lawyer. I'm going to document everything. And then I'm going to watch you explain to everyone why being bored justified destroying our marriage. The facade crumbles. The perfect image shatters. You can't, I say, panic rising. My followers, my brand. Your brand? He looks at me like I'm a stranger. Maybe I am. That's what you're worried about? Not our marriage? Not the years we built together? Your brand? Put like that, it sounds horrible. I am horrible. I'll change, I promise. I'll end it with Chris. We can work this out. But Jack just shakes his head. No, he says quietly. We can't. Because the woman I married? She wouldn't have done this in the first place. He walks out of the kitchen, leaving me with my unlocked phone. My exposed lies. My crumbling world. Rachel calls an hour later. Jack knows, I tell her, voice shaking. Everything. Oh honey, she says, but there's excitement under her sympathy. What are you going to do? What am I going to do? The question echoes in my empty house. I call Chris. Jack knows, I say when he answers. About everything. There's a pause. Too long. Maybe it's for the best, he finally says. Now we can be together properly. But something in his voice sounds off. Distant. Like he's reading from a script that suddenly doesn't make sense. You still want that, right? I ask. Another pause. Ashley, he sighs. Let's talk about this later. I have clients now. The line goes dead. And just like that, my perfect life starts to collapse. Jack moves out that night. Takes only what he needs. Leaves me in our house that suddenly feels too big. Too empty. Too real. I post a cryptic message on Instagram. Something about life changes and growing pains. The comments flood in. Hearts and prayers. Empty sympathy from strangers who don't know they're supporting a villain. Chris doesn't call back. Doesn't text. Doesn't answer when I try to reach him. Rachel suggests drinks. To take your mind off things, she says. But at the bar, she's more interested in the gossip than my pain. So what are you going to do about your followers, she asks. They're going to want answers. As if that's what matters now. As if my carefully curated online life is more important than my real one. The one I just destroyed. I check my phone compulsively. Nothing from Chris. Nothing from Jack. Just notifications. Likes. Comments. Empty validation from strangers. Days pass. Jack's lawyer contacts mine. Words like irreconcilable differences and division of assets become my new reality. Chris finally texts. Think we should cool things off for a while. Until this blows over. Translation: now that there are consequences, I'm out. I stare at the message until the words blur. Until the truth finally hits me. I traded something real for something fake. Substance for shadows. Love for likes. The perfect life I thought I wanted turns out to be nothing but smoke and mirrors. And now I'm left with nothing but the ashes of what I burned. Jack's words echo in my head. The woman I married wouldn't have done this. He's right. I'm not that woman anymore. I'm not sure I ever was. I'm just a carefully constructed image. A brand. A lie. And now, as everything crumbles around me, I realize the truth. I didn't just cheat on Jack. I cheated myself. Out of love. Out of trust. Out of the chance to be real instead of perfect. And no amount of filters can fix that. No caption can make it right. No number of likes can fill the void where my integrity used to be. I close Instagram. Turn off my phone. And for the first time in years, I face myself without a screen between us. The reflection isn't pretty. But at least it's real. Finally, devastatingly real. The divorce proceedings move forward like a slow-motion car crash. Each document feels like another piece of wreckage. Each meeting with lawyers another reminder of what I've lost. Jack doesn't look at me during the mediation sessions. His lawyer, Catherine Martinez, is a shark in a pencil skirt. She lays out my infidelity with surgical precision. Bank statements showing hotel charges. Credit card bills from restaurants I claimed were work events. Screenshots of messages that make me cringe with their desperation. My lawyer advises me to settle quickly. The evidence is overwhelming, she says gently. And your social media presence doesn't help. Ah yes, my precious social media presence. The carefully curated life that's now falling apart in real time. My followers have noticed something's wrong. The perfect posts have become sporadic. The captions less confident. The comments more questioning. Rachel suggests I get ahead of the story. Post your side before Jack does, she says over coffee. Control the narrative. But what narrative? That I'm the villain in my own story? That I destroyed my marriage for Instagram likes and designer bags? Chris has disappeared completely. His last message still burns in my phone. It was fun while it lasted. Good luck with everything. 7 years of marriage reduced to everything. A month of mediation sessions passes. Jack remains stoic. Professional. Distant. I try to catch his eye once. To communicate something. Remorse maybe. Or just recognition of what we once were. But he looks through me like I'm already a ghost. The settlement is fair. More than fair, considering what I did. Jack doesn't try to punish me financially. Doesn't expose me publicly. Doesn't do any of the things I probably deserve. He just wants it over. Wants me gone. The day we sign the final papers, I break down. Not in the courthouse. Not in front of Jack. But in my car, alone in the parking garage. The same parking garage where I once kissed Chris. The irony isn't lost on me. My phone buzzes with notifications. Rachel wanting details. Followers asking questions. Brands wondering about upcoming partnerships. I turn it off. Drive home to our house. My house now. But it doesn't feel like home anymore. The rooms echo with memories. The walls hold accusations. Every corner reminds me of what I've lost. What I threw away. I start packing up Jack's remaining things. Find his old navy bee. Laser in the back of the closet. The one I used to mock. It smells like him. Like safety. Like truth. I sit on our bed. His side still made with military precision. And finally let myself feel it all. The shame. The regret. The hollow victory of freedom that feels more like exile. Rachel calls again. You need to get back out there, she insists. Show everyone you're thriving. But I'm not thriving. I'm drowning in the consequences of my choices. Suffocating under the weight of my perfectly filtered lies. I delete Instagram from my phone. Then Facebook. Then Twitter. The silence is deafening. But necessary. Weeks pass. I hear through mutual friends that Jack is doing well. That he's moved to a new apartment downtown. Started rock climbing. Found himself, maybe. While I'm still lost in the ruins of what I destroyed. One day, I drive past the view. The rooftop where it all started to unravel. Where I chose excitement over loyalty. Style over substance. Lies over love. I park across the street. Watch the sunset paint the sky in colors no filter could improve. And finally understand what Jack meant. The woman he married wouldn't have done this. But maybe the woman I am now can learn from it. Can grow from it. Can find her way back to something real. Not back to Jack. That bridge is burned. Those ashes scattered. But back to herself. The real self. Not the carefully curated version. Not the perfect lie. But the messy, flawed, honest truth. I start therapy. Not for the content. Not for the story. But for me. The real me. The one who got lost somewhere between Instagram posts and hotel rooms. My therapist asks why I did it. I wanted more, I say. More what? More everything. But that's not true. I wanted more attention. More excitement. More validation. I wanted the life I posted about. Not the one I had. And in chasing that perfect image, I lost everything real. Months pass. Seasons change. I learn to live with the quiet. Learn to face myself in mirrors without filters. Learn to find worth in something other than likes and followers. I see Jack once unexpectedly. At a coffee shop downtown. He's with someone. A woman with kind eyes and hiking boots. They're laughing over something private. Something real. He looks happy. Genuinely happy. Not Instagram happy. I don't interrupt. Don't try to explain. Don't attempt to rewrite our ending. Instead, I walk away. Let him have his new beginning. And focus on finding my own. Not in filtered photos or carefully crafted captions. Not in designer bags or luxury hotels. But in the quiet moments. The real moments. The ones that don't need to be shared to matter. Rachel doesn't understand. Calls me boring now. Says I've lost my spark. But she's wrong. I haven't lost anything. I've found something. Something real. Something true. Something that doesn't need validation from strangers on the internet. IST. I'll have my regrets. Still wake up sometimes reaching for my phone to post the perfect morning light. Still catch myself trying to filter reality. But then I remember. Remember the cost of perfection. The price of lies. The weight of betrayal. And I choose differently. Choose truth over filters. Reality over perception. Substance over style. It's not a perfect ending. But maybe that's the point. Life isn't meant to be perfect. It's meant to be real. And finally, after everything, that's enough. More than enough. It's everything. End.